What is up, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to a brand new top 10. And today, guys, we're taking a look at the top 10 dinos that need a TLC for Ark Ascended. Now, by TLC, I mean a rework of their abilities, a rework of how they look, and a rework of possibly their size. So hopefully the devs have some TLCs in progress for some of the creatures, but here are my top 10 that I think need the TLC the most. Now, coming in at number 10, we have the Raptor. Now, the Raptor did receive a TLC quite a few years back. However, I still feel like its model is outdated and it does need a new model. The animations do look smooth and everything like that. I feel like its model is just lacking, as well as its abilities. Now, it does have a bite attack and a pounce attack, and that is all it has going for it. Now, this pounce attack can be used on smaller creatures and you can pin them to the ground and then feed on them while there. However, it is slightly buggy, and you can see there that we don't even actually sit on the model itself while utilizing this ability. Now, it did also receive a pack buff, which you can utilize, and you will get assigned an alpha. This does increase the Raptor's attack speed and the Raptor's attack damage. However, you can't actually use the Raptor's latch ability on anything larger than like a Dillo. So anything like a Bronto, a T-Rex, or anything like that, you can't actually jump on. Very similarly to the Deinonychuses, I feel like an ability like that would benefit the Raptors. So I feel like an attack where you're able to mount the dinosaurs something larger and actually pin them to the ground, even like a Galley we can't actually even pin. I feel like having that ability and allowing your other pack mates to actually jump on the target, pin them, start biting them, not necessarily do a bleed attack because you do have the Deinonychus for that. But the Raptors are much easier to obtain than Deinonychuses, so I think giving them that jumping, latching ability would help them greatly. And I think an updated design also would help them greatly. But this guy is in at number 10. Let's find out what some of the worst dinos are. Something that doesn't need a TLC, however, is today's sponsor, Dungeon Hunter 6. Dungeon Hunter 6 is a brand new installment in the hack and slash franchise as a free-to-play mobile ARPG that allows you to play as a bounty hunter with multiple class options. It also features PvP elements if you feel like getting down and fighty with other people. Now, when you fight and defeat a boss in Dungeon Hunter 6, you get the ability to utilize them through different mechanisms, such as summoning them onto the battlefield to fight for you and performing combo skills. But that's not all. You can also shapeshift into them when you reach the late game. Now, if you're anything like me, you also love mounts, and Dungeon Hunter 6 has a customizable mount system where you can ride various fantasy creatures and machines. But that's not all. A bunch of different skill tree options to try different builds, and you can also trade items via the auction system. So what are you waiting for? Download the game for free today on iOS or Android using my link in the description or the QR code, and get a special starter pack worth $50, which has the awesome SSR Lieutenant the Demonic Wolf. But that's not all. You can also use your game account to enter the launch Lucky Spin event for free to win great prizes like an iPhone 15 Pro Max, a PS5, and more. And once again, thanks to Dungeon Hunter 6 for sponsoring this video. Now, coming in at number 9, we have the Pachyrhinosaurus. This guy is definitely in need of a TLC in my opinion. He needs a model update. His model is super old and it's just looking very haggard. I'm pretty sure that's a word, haggard. And as well as that, his abilities as well. Now, he obviously has the basic abilities of Herbivore Gathering. His faceplate does have a damage reduction. And then he has the ability to expel mist. Now, this one here is a calming mist, which essentially camouflages you and your Pachy from predators. However, anything the size of a Rex and larger, so like Spinos, Allos, anything like that, will still actually attack you, so it kind of defeats the purpose. Now, as well as the calming one, it does also have a rage-inducing one, which obviously will cause creatures to attack you. Your Pachy acts as a taunter. I feel like you could definitely utilize some abilities that buff your own dinos. You know, the Pachyrhino giving out like a scent buffer that increases attack or damage, very similar to like a Udiroar, but instead of that, it's a scent, and it does it in a smaller area or a smaller circumference around you. I feel like that would kind of balance it out on that mid-tier level before you've tamed up a Yudi and you want to try and do something else. It could also provide a buff to other herbivores only even, using that pheromone mist. I feel like there's a lot of things you could utilize with the way that the Pachy uses its pheromone attacks and abilities. So definitely something on that part. I feel like you could definitely use a charge attack as well as a size upgrade. Yes, it is slightly smaller than the Trike, but like, it definitely could use a larger model, I reckon. I think all Ceratopsians could. But nonetheless, let's move on to number 8. Now, coming in at number 8, we have the Sabertooth. Feel like this guy needs a skill TLC and a model TLC. He is one of the lucky recipients that did receive one, however, a few years back as well, but I just feel like it's lacking. Sabertooths were very stocky, very broad creatures. This guy is very slim and streamlined, and he also has one ability, a bite attack, and like a paw attack. That's it. The Sabertooths should be absolutely ferocious. They should have like a pounce ability that enables you to pin the creature to the ground, similar to the Raptor's attack, but doing it with the mouth of the Sabertooth, possibly a bleed attack. You know, I feel like the Sabertooth having a jump and a bite ability is kind of lackluster. That's all it has going for itself. Even like a lone hunter ability where it's able to get a buff from being a lone hunter, because obviously Sabertooths weren't pack creatures, they were solitary creatures, and I feel like something that could boost the stats of the Sabertooth while it's alone, even only temporary, would benefit it greatly. Even taking reduced fall damage, because these guys still take the same amount of fall damage, and they're a cat, right? They're a cat. They obviously should take reduced fall damage. I feel like their model also, like I said, needs a stockier upgrade as well, making them slightly bigger, slightly wider as well. But Sabertooth comes in at number 8. Let's move on to number 7. Now, coming in at number 7, we have the Aranio, everyone's forgotten invertebrate. This guy could have so much potential. Instead, all we have is a web attack. Don't get me wrong, the web attack is cool. Oh my god, what is going on? But you could utilize these guys for so much more. First off, they definitely need a model update. These dudes could be much larger, and I think they deserve to be much larger considering the size of the broodmother. I feel like you could up the size of these guys a little bit, but they could also use many more abilities. For example, a poisonous bite that is able to deal damage over time, inflict torpor even. I feel like the poison, although, would be better. An ability to climb up walls and structures like the Megalania and the Rock Drake. They're spiders, for God's sake. That's exactly what spiders bloody do. As well as that, the ability to set traps with these guys. Spider web traps. You know, spiders, what do? They set up webs so that they can capture their prey. I feel like spider web traps would be an awesome ability. They do have this ability that sends out the web, but you could also make it so that they're able to deploy it around a base even, so that if any large dinos or anything like that do try and raid you, these guys are there with web traps ready to stop them. There are so many cool abilities you could do with a spider, and I feel like they're very lacking in terms of the Urania, because no one bothers to use these guys because they're useless. Like, what do you use them for? Getting stuck in the cliff sides and going upside down? So that's why these guys come in at number 7, but let's move on to number 6. Now, coming in at number 6, we have the Scorpius. Quick fact, these guys used to be my favorite tame back when Ark first dropped. They were just so cool. Who doesn't want to ride around on a giant goddamn scorpion? And they are super lackluster. Their model definitely needs an upgrade, although it's not too bad, to be completely honest. I do think the Scorpius could use a size upgrade, the model itself making it slightly larger, but it's only got one attack. That's it. And the one attack itself is exactly the same. Like, I feel like there need to be 2 distinct attacks, a pincer attack and then a tail attack. Both of those doing separate things. For example, the tail envenomating and doing the torpor effect, like it already does, and then actually using the pincers to deal more damage. You know, they're attacking with the pincers, they could hold the prey even, that could be an ability. They've only got one ability, that is it, the bite slash pincer swipe slash tail sting. That's all they've got going for them. They definitely need more abilities. Heck, they could definitely have like sort of like a half effect similar to the Thylacoleo, where it's able to run up vertical walls or something like that. Make it a little bit more mobile so that it's able to get stuck to maybe like 180 degree sort of things. Does that make sense? 180 degree, 90 degrees? Make them get stuck to 90 degree things so that they don't fall off, but not have them climb on ceilings and stuff like that, like the Rock Drake and the Megalania. I feel like they could do a whole bunch of things with the Scorpius, and I feel like they need to. This guy's got nothing going for him anymore. He's got nothing. Even his torpor is just kind of useless because it just doesn't deal enough torpor damage. So I feel like the Scorpion is once again one of the forgotten creatures of Ark, and it definitely needs some tender love and care. Let's move on to number 5. Now guys, coming in at number 5, we have the Titanoboa. Once again, another forgotten creature of Ark. I feel like all like cave creatures just get completely sidelined for everything. Now, the Titanoboa definitely needs a TLC. It's not rideable, and I feel like it definitely should be. You can ride the Diplocalus for God's sakes, and that thing's absolutely minute. You definitely should be able to ride the Titanoboa, and I feel like they should also come in variable sizes, very similar to Kraken's Better Dinos mod that actually does this, because all snakes obviously are different sizes depending on how old they are, how much they've eaten and everything like that. And I feel like they could definitely get a saddle. As well as that, they could have a venomous bite attack that does poison damage over time. They could have a coil ability that causes them to constrict and coil around a victim and deal slow damage over time, or even just paralyze them temporarily due to the fact that they've suffocated from oxygen. These guys just have never really had a use since the Kibble rework, and the only reason you would tame them before the Kibble rework was purely for their eggs. That was it. That was all you tamed them for. They didn't really do anything outside of that. So I feel like it's once again one of Ark's forgotten creatures. But let's move on to number 4. Now coming in at number 4, we have the Plesiosaur. And I've got to say, this has got to be one of the ugliest models in all of Ark. Look at that face. That is a face only a mother could love. I swear to God, look at that overbite too. The poor little bastard. So the Plesiosaur, he literally does nothing well. He swims and he bites. That's all he's got running for him. He's got nothing else. He could have tail flips. He could have the ability to spin, for example. Similarly to the Baryonyx, maybe like half a spin where he's able to like pimp slap people with his fins. I feel like that would be a pretty unique ability. Even like a neck smack. You know, he spins his neck or something like that, swings his neck around and stuns something. Because all he can do now is this. Get ganged up on by Megalodons and just bite them to death. That's it. He does have the ability for a platform saddle, but nobody really utilizes those underwater anymore, I feel like. So you definitely need to give your boy, the Plesiosaur, some tender love and care. Because he is just super lackluster. Super duper lackluster. Now coming in at number 3, we have the Mosa. Very similarly to the Plesiosaur, the Mosa does nothing. He's just a big old bullet sponge, essentially, because that's all he's really good for. Just tanking a bunch of damage, trying to soak turrets. He does have the tech saddle for himself as well, which is, I mean, that's something over the Plesiosaur, that's for sure. But like, there's so much potential with this guy. I think his model is a little bit outdated as well, but he could give him a tail slap. Imagine swimming along and just bitch slapping everyone with your giant tail. Like, how sick would that be? As well as that, I feel like you could definitely get a grab and hold ability. Similar to like the Tuso's tentacle grab, except it's able to just kind of grab smaller things and hold it in its mouth. Like, come on, there's so much you could do with these guys. I feel like the devs do need to start thinking about the TLC for these creatures. Because when Ark Survival Ascended does come out, it's just going to go straight back to the meta. Shadow mains and, you know, all that sort of stuff. No one's going to use these guys once again. They're just going to be forgotten how they were when Ark dropped. So Mosa is definitely up there with one of those creatures that there's just so much potential, and it's just utilized on swimming around biting people. Now coming in at number 2 in all his glory, we have the Giga. You guys know where I'm going with this. Big guy runs around, chomps. Yes, he does have the rage mechanic, but like, come on. That's just a glorified version of him running around chomping. Doesn't really do much. I'm very glad that the Paleo Ark Giga did come out as well, and I do hope that that gets ported over before, well, I mean, just in general, to Ark Survival Ascended, because that obviously does a massive TLC on the Giga, and it's what the Giga should be. But it's just a shame that it falls on the people of the community to actually do this instead of the devs themselves, you know? I'm not going to get into that, but like, I feel like the Giga definitely could use some TLC. Model update and something other than the ability of just a roar and a bite. That's all he's got. Heck, give him a more powerful roar. The Rex's roar is more terrifying than the Giga. And the Giga is giant. He's massive. He's the apex predator. And you've got the Rex roaring bloody louder and scarier than the Giga is. So Giga comes in at number 2, but let's move on and find out what the number 1 spot is. Now coming in at number 1, we have the Rex itself. Everyone's favorite boss slaying dino, the Rex. Some could argue it doesn't need a TLC. Me, on the other hand, I definitely think it needs some more abilities. It has the ability to roar, which does stun and cause smaller dinos to poo themselves and bite. But you can see that stun doesn't last very long whatsoever. Come on, guys. Like, Give him like something similar to the Acro, where he's able to swing his tail around, do like a little 360 Beyblade attack, the ability to grab stuff and hold and pin things with his giant legs. Imagine getting stomped on by those leg muscles. You know, give him ability where he's able to pin something to the ground and just take freaking chunks of flesh out of it. Give him something other than the ability to just bite. Now, granted, some of you guys might say, well, the Rex doesn't need a TLC, he's fine where he's at, and we're happy that he just bites and tanks damage from bosses. There's so much potential for all of these dinos that have been selected for this list that you could say the same thing for all of them. But I think the ability to choose your dinos based on their abilities and actually being useful and versatile makes them more desirable. You know, who's going to bother taming up a raptor when a Deinonychus can do the job of a raptor 10 times better? Who's going to pick up one of the Pachyrhinos when a Trike can do the job so much better? You know what I mean? For those people that want to actually use these dinos for stuff that they could see and use other dinos for, like Shadowmane's replacements or something like that, you know, use a Pomioscorpius instead of the Deinonychuses, instead of the Carnos, maybe not instead of Allos, because I don't think they'd be able to fit that niche or role, but there's just so much potential with these dinos that I've put on this top 10 list. So some honorable mentions as well. The Onyx could definitely utilize an upgrade, and I feel like the anglerfish as well. A lot of the aquatic creatures could use an upgrade, some abilities, some TLC, but I feel like the Onyx as well is also one of those dinos that definitely needs a bit of an upgrade. So let me know what you guys thought of the list down below. Let me know what some of your selections would be. But nonetheless, guys, hopefully you enjoyed this video. If you did, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe down below for more, and I'll catch you in the next one.